Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Swedish on the home side, half American on the away side, and both of these breweries have featured on the channel quite a few times before. If memory serves me correctly, I may well have done a collaboration review involving both of these guys as well at some stage. But yeah, when it comes to the home brewery, I would say that they are one of the best known names when it comes to Swedish craft beer, and very solid all round actually. They made their name when it came to the big kind of big sort of sweet pastry imperial stouts, I guess we could say, and then they started to do lots of other stuff after that. Whereas the American brewery is probably best known for the different kinds of New England hazy IPAs, and they're a very well known name when it comes to American craft beer over here in Europe as well. Now the beer we're going to have a look at today is a style that I know both breweries can do very, very well. It's a recent release through Systembolaget here in Sweden, and it is supposed to be a pretty nice one. So definitely curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So hopefully it's another good one. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for the home side of things then, we are going to stick to Sweden. We're going to head up toward the capital, Stockholm, and we're going to go to the northwest of the city centre to Sundbyberg, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from Omnipollo. So this particular beer is called Double Motueka Chroma, and they're describing this one as a double dry hopped imperial IPA. It comes in at 8.2% ABV, and this is brewed in collaboration with Other Half, who are of course from New York over in New England in the northeastern US. So yeah, this beer was released as part of the Tillfälligt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden in March at some point, if memory serves me correctly, and this is another one of the beers that I didn't manage to review because of my technical problems before I went to Japan. But yeah, this is supposed to be a very, very good beer from what I understand. It uses Motueka hops from 3 different suppliers in New Zealand, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it's all about. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about both the breweries involved in this one before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Omnipollo and from Other Half Brewing, and we will no doubt add more to those lists at some point in the future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support you give is massively appreciated, and remember you can go into the channel homepage and search for beers using the geography tagging system. Just go up to the search bar, put your hometown, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever you like in there. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one both in the Swedish playlist and the American playlist, and those will no doubt be added to it at some point in the very near future. You know, we're always adding Swedish beers, and there will be more American ones later in the year as well. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a little bit first about Omnipollo then, since they are the home brewery in this case. So, Omnipollo was founded back in 2011 by Henrik Fente, who is a long-time home brewer, and also Carl Grandin, who is a clothing designer. But the two had been friends for quite a while, and they had long discussions about how insular the craft beer scene was, both in Sweden and abroad. And they felt that they wanted to really reinvigorate it, both from a stylistic and a gastronomic sense. And so they felt that this partnership between the home brewer and the clothing designer was actually very logical. And you will have seen in the early days they developed a very unique style of brewing and also very unique labels and things, and you can still see some of those today actually. But the name Omnipollo is derived from omnipotent chicken, so Omnipollo, pollo Spanish for chicken, and these guys were gypsy brewers until 2020. They were brewing a lot of their beers at the Proefbrouwerij in Lochristenhoeve, just outside of Ghent in Belgium. But they opened up the Omnipollo's hat, I believe that was back in what was that? Must have been back in about 2015, 2016, maybe earlier than that. But that's based in Stockholm, and it's a collaboration with Pizza Hut. It's quite a popular little place. They've got many Omnipollo beers on tap there, and very, very good pizza. It is somewhere that I do want to go and film an out and about video at some stage, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But in 2019, they started opening up other bars. This started off with one in Hamburg, down in Germany, and also another one in Gothenburg, which is now closed, unfortunately. And they have also got a bar in Tokyo now as well, which I will need to go and check out at some stage. But in March of 2020, they announced that they were going to open their own brewery in Sundbyberg to the northwest of the central Stockholm in a former church, and this had previously been home to Sundbyberg Köksbryggeri. So apparently when they started out there, the capacity was about 100,000 litres of beer per year, but this has been scaled up and they can now produce around 600,000 litres of beer per year in there. They do still brew a number of their beers at the Prof Brewery down in Belgium, but I think also a number of them are brewed in different places too. A number of the imperial stouts you'll find from Omnipollo are brewed at Dugas Brewery in Gothenburg. They brew a number of IPAs at Total City in Svinninge on Sjælland in Denmark as well. And yeah, so they have got their own brewery. So quite a few things produced in Stockholm these days, but other ones produced in Gothenburg, Svinninge, and down in Belgium as well. So yeah, I think that's everything we really need to say about Omnipollo really, other than the fact that as of April 2023, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 390 different kinds of beer. Probably my favourite ones are three that I would say you really need to try from this brewery. The Nebuchadnezzar, which is their old school West Coast Double IPA, lovely, lovely beer, that one. The Fata Morgana, which is one of the, yeah, you could probably call that one of the kind of iconic Swedish New England IPAs as well, and then also probably the Noah Pecan Mud Pie, one of the big imperial stouts. That's the one that's most widely produced these days. But yeah, some really, really nice beers available from Omnipollo, so definitely check those guys out should you get the chance. But yeah, that's everything, as I say, that I really can tell you about Omnipollo for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on to the American side of things, Other Half Brewing. So Other Half Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in New York, Brooklyn to be specific, and this company was founded back in 2014 by Samuel Richardson, Matt Monahan and Andrew Berman. So Matt had worked as a line cook and in kitchens for a number of years, and he really got into home brewing over the years, and then eventually decided that he was going to go for it and make brewing his career. But Samuel, on the other hand, studied food science in Oregon out on the west coast with a special focus in fermentation science, and he worked in various breweries before starting Other Half. But Andrew has a background in the restaurant industry, and he was a partner in a number of restaurants. But these days, Matt manages the business side of the brewery, while Samuel is the brewery operations manager and is also involved in recipe development. But the brewery grew very, very quickly in their early years, and they have their tap room on Center Street in Brooklyn. So that's somewhere I do need to check out when I get over to the States later this year. But in 2018, they purchased the former brewery of Nedlow Brewing in East Bloomfield in the Rochester area of New York, and this has allowed them to get their beers further afield than before, and also to start a sour beer program. So this is one of the reasons why the Other Half beers have become a lot easier to get over here in Europe. But as of April 2023, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 1,600 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd, and they will no doubt continue to add to that as time goes on. But like I say, over here in Europe, Other Half are known for mainly their New England hazy type beers, and I do still need to do a kind of solo brewery beer review from these guys at some point. So the next time I'm over in Copenhagen, we'll see about getting a can of Other Half beer to share with you guys here on the channel. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Other Half Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can of course check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at this beer itself. So as you can see, this one is another 440ml can. I do like the artwork on this one. It is pretty snazzy, and you can see on the side there, as we said, it is called the Double Motueka Chroma, double dry hopped, 8.2% ABV, plain silver top on the can there. I actually can't remember what I paid for this one. I want to say that this was about 65 Swedish kroner, and I'm just trying to see if it says where this one was made, because Omnipollo usually does. Oh, this one has actually been brewed in Sundbyberg, because quite a few of the IPAs you'll find they are brewed at Total City over in Denmark. So yeah, I thought this one might have been one of those, but yeah, no, this one has actually been brewed in Sweden. It says here the church brew team did an Imperial IPA tasting, and this beer came out on top. Here is our version of Other Half's Double Motueka Chroma, double dry hopped Imperial IPA, enthusiastically crafted at our church brewery on Sturegatan 41 in Sundbyberg, Sweden. So yeah, interesting. But if I remember rightly, I think I paid about 65 Swedish krona for this one, so that is about €6.50, $7 American, something like that. And then, yeah, what's that going to be? About £6 sterling, I guess. But yeah, 8.2% ABV, this one. Hopped with 3 different varieties of Motueka from 3 different suppliers in New Zealand. We know Motueka to hop, of course, a lovely, big, oily, limey thing usually. 8% alpha acid. So, yeah, this should be pretty nice, I'm sure. So, let's just get this guy out into the glass and we'll see what it's all about. So, I think that's enough to take a look at the beer for the moment. I will point out, of course, this one is not in its prime freshness, but yeah, it probably will have held up pretty well. It's probably about 2 months old or something at this stage, so it should still be in pretty good condition. But you don't want to leave it too much longer than that with a New England IPA or even a West Coast IPA either. I think West Coast IPAs stand up to time a little bit better than New England's do, to be honest with you, but that's just me. But yeah, anyway, as you can see, this beer is poured pretty much as you would expect of a New England Double IPA, to be honest. So before the head disappears, we can see that this beer poured with about a half to a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. That has faded away to be a very kind of thin foamy layer, and then just round the edge of the glasses, just round the edge of the glass, you can see that nice foamy ring there. The bubbles are kind of medium, I would say, and I would describe the head as being perfect white. I wouldn't even describe it as being kind of creamy or anything like that. But yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there, but overall it does look pretty nice. So yeah, in terms of the colour of this one, I would describe this as being like a kind of mango pineapple juice colour. I always like comparing New England IPAs to different fruit juices because that's just what they remind me of, to be honest with you. But yeah, remember the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging you do or adjuncts you put in will affect the colour of the beer as well. But when it comes to New England hazy IPAs or any kind of IPA really, you don't often have to care about that. So yeah, looks the part. In terms of the level of haze in this one as well, this is one of the soupier and gloopier New Englands I can remember having come across from Omnipollo. So the level of haze in these beers, of course, is dependent on the oat content, the wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. And it can vary from brewery to brewery, beer to beer, recipe to recipe, whatever. There's not really too much of a rule about it. But this one is definitely very, very soupy and gloopy. Just look at that. But yeah, certainly looks the part for a New England Double IPA, this one for sure. I don't think we need to say much more about the appearance of this one. So yeah, let's have a little look at the aroma of the beer and see what it's all about. Very curious about this. Oh yeah, this does smell very, very nice. Very soft, juicy. You can smell instantly that it's not in its prime freshness. One of the ways to tell, of course, is by looking at the oaty character. I've said this in many reviews before. The creamier the oats are, the fresher your New England IPA is, the kind of drier they are, the older it is. That's a very good indicator of when it comes to these beers in my experience. But yeah, the aroma of this beer is pretty damn nice, I have to say. Actually, I really like how this one goes together. Yeah, I like it. So, for me, as I've always said, there are 6 elements of things you should think about with New England IPA. So this is the kind of yeasty, farmhousey character, the rye leaning grainy side of things. Those 2 elements are a little bit more common in American brewed New England IPAs in my experience. But you've also got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things in there as well. But yeah, these are the 6 elements to think about when it comes to New England IPAs. I would say with this one, I would say overall it has a mix of, you can smell that it smells kind of old school actually. It smells like some of the New England IPAs that we had back in Sweden back in sort of 2015, 2016 when this style was just coming onto the scene, if you like. It's quite a bready leaning one for me. You've got a nice kind of soft green component, but you've also got that kind of oily, limey character coming out of this one too. So yeah, that gives you a basic summary. But let's try and break the beer down a wee bit and describe it more in depth. So for me, the aroma, the backbone of this beer is like, the backbone of this beer is quite, I would say, it's got a soft kind of bread crusty kind of note to it as well. So yeah, lovely soft kind of bread crusty character there, fresh white bread crust. There's a little bit of a crackery note in there as well, but not too much. So bread crust, a little bit of cracker, wee tiny hint of wood there, but a lot of the character coming out of this one is, for me, it's fluffy white bread. It's all the way. Yeah, lovely soft kind of fluffy white bread in this one. Yeah, lovely big kind of fluffy white bread in this one. On top of that, in the back of the nose, you do get a little tiny bit of wheaty bitiness coming out of this one. But I'd say the wheat, it seems to be that the wheat is actually acting more as a smoothing agent in this beer, if we can call it that. The wheat doesn't strike me as being too bitey or too dry or too smooth or anything. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is pretty, is quite nice. And on top of that, you've got the oats. Like I said, you do get some oaty creaminess lingering in this beer, but you can feel that the oats, you can smell that the oats are starting to get slightly drier. And then, yeah, it goes together really quite nicely in that sense. So, yeah, on top of that, there's a little tiny hint of like a Werther's Original butter candy sweetness in there. A little bit of biscuit, but not overly much, I would say, actually. Yeah. So the way that goes together is pretty nice. On the green side of things, then you've got a nice little bit of earthy character in there. Yeah, there's a nice little bit of earthy character in there. You've got a wee bit of a herbal note coming out of it as well. So yeah, a little bit of earthiness, a little bit of herbal character, but the green component for me leans more toward a kind of smooth, grassy note, actually. I actually would have expected Motueka to be a little bit more kind of floral in things, to be honest with you. It's quite interesting. For me, it's very interesting to have single hop IPAs, because you really start to learn more about the characteristics of the individual hops, and of course they behave differently depending on what malt bases you put them in. You know, Motueka will behave completely differently in a West Coast IPA to a New England one, for sure. But for me, yeah, it's interesting. The green component of this beer is quite nice and bright, and as I've said on many occasions, when it comes to IPAs, you have three types of hopping. Early addition hopping within the first hour of the wort boil, that gives you mainly bitterness. Late addition hopping within the last half hour of the wort boil, that gives you a little bit of bitterness, but quite a lot of flavour and aroma. And then dry hopping after the wort boil is complete, that is all about flavour and aroma. So yeah, New England IPAs tend to rely on the latter two, late addition and dry hopping. West Coast IPAs use all three, and that is why West Coast IPAs have a bigger, deeper, danker aroma than New England's. So, now you know. But yeah, the green component for me in this one, a little bit of floral character, but very bright and grassy. And then when it comes to the fruity side of this beer, for me, it's interesting because there are little touches of kind of dried apricot and stuff like that in there, but yeah, it's quite a juicy, oily, limey character that comes out of this one. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really quite nice. Yeah, I like how that pieces together in this one. The way it goes together, I think, is really nice, actually. I'm curious to try this one now. As I always say, though, take a wee bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think it is about time that we taste this one and see what it's all about. So, let's do this. This is the Double Motueka Chroma, a New England Double IPA, New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA, from Omnipollo in Stockholm and Other Half Brewing in Brooklyn in New York. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, cheers. yeah, that is very nice. Quite a very first impression of it is very smooth and very creamy, actually. So, very smooth, very creamy, and really juicy. New England IPA, actually. I can tell when this would have been fresh, it would have probably been even better. But yeah, this is, as it stands, it's still in really good condition, actually, so it gets a thumbs up. Definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah. The first impression of this one is it has a wee bit more wheaty presence to it, lovely smooth and creamy otherwise, a little bit more floral character than the aroma would have you believe, and you've got the big oily, juicy, kind of fruity notes out of it. So yeah, gives you everything you would want. Let's try and break this down a wee bit then and just describe it more in depth. So yeah, middle third of your palate then, we'll start there, as we often do. The backbone of the beer, you've got a lovely kind of fresh, white bready bread crust there that blankets the middle of your palate. So lovely fresh white bready bread crust. Moving further forward, yeah, lovely fresh white bready bread crust. Moving forward on this one would be the, you get a little bit of a kind of woody note out of this. You also get a little bit of the Jacob's cream cracker sitting in there as well. And then above that you start to get the bread. For me there's a little thin layer of an almost kind of wholemeal brown bread. So yeah, bread crust, cracker, a little bit of woody character, a kind of thinner layer of wholemeal, thinner layer of kind of wholemeal brown bready character. Then you get the fluffy white bread just sitting above that. So yeah, big fluffy white bread coming out of this one. So yeah, the way that goes together is really nice. It's a very soft malt base, as I said. So, above that, you have a really nice kind of smooth, you've got a nice kind of smooth wheaty character in there as well. You can feel that it's like just densifying out the bready nature of the beer, but then above the wheat you can feel the oats, and it's kind of down the middle, down the middle line of your palate there. You can feel the oaty creaminess in there, and as you move further out toward the edges of the tongue, you get a little bit of dryness in there. So yeah, nice kind of oaty creaminess in there, a little bit of oaty dryness as you go out toward the edge of the, a little bit as you go out toward the edges of the middle third of your palate as well, and that's just because of the age of the beer. But in the dead centre of your tongue you can feel there's a little circle there where you'll get a wee bit of a kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy note. So that's quite interesting as well for me. I do quite like how that kind of pieces together. But yeah, in terms of the, I would say that in terms of the kind of middle third of your palate, I think that's everything we need to say. So border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit, you do get a nice little bit of a kind of bready build up in there, and then the base of the back third of your palate, the base of that back third of your palate, you get a little bit more bread crust in there, and as I've always said, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back on the palate, sweeter flavours come out further forward. So you've got that nice kind of dry bread crusty base to this one. On top of that, it's a Jacob's cream crackery sort of thing. Then you get the wholemeal brown bread in there, and then above that you can feel the wholemeal brown bready layer is a little bit taller and a little bit more airy, and then above that you've got the big fluffy white bready layers as well. So yeah. So the big tall airy fluffy white bready layers, and above that you get a little bit more of kind of wheaty, you get a little bit of the kind of wheaty bitiness. Then above everything else you've got the more kind of yeasty, farmhousey type character out of this one. So, yeah. You can feel the yeasty farmhousey character in this beer is quite interesting. It's like a more airy, fluffy farmhousey bread. There's a little bit of like a kind of, yeah, there is a little bit of a sort of, I would say, yeah, there's a little touch of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of note to this one coming out. And then above that, well, it's more like a kind of honeycomb, and then you've got all this kind of light farmhousey bread note, but definitely back third of the palate, you can feel the flavour is taller, and then as you come further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together. So the way that goes together is really nice, and it gets a big thumbs up from me, so I do like that. Yeah, interesting stuff. So on the hoppy side of things, I think we can move on there. The back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness in there. Then as you move further forward, it's got a little bit of herbal character. And as you push further forward toward the kind of front corners of the palate, you get a little bit more kind of floral aromaticity. As I was saying, so yeah, nice little bit of floral aromaticity there. And then round the front curve of the tongue, the beer is just a little bit lighter and more grassy, actually. The green component in this beer is, yeah, kind of, it's not too zesty, but it's quite smooth, actually. I think that's fair to say. So yeah, let's have a little look at the front third of your palate then. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of kind of bready build up, and it's like a kind of smooth white bread in there. The base of that front third of your palate is it has a little bit of kind of fresh white bready bread crust, then you get the smooth white bread on top of that. Then you have that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, that is quite nice. So, yeah, the way that goes together, is really nice as well. I mean, it's quite straight up, this beer, in terms of its fruity character. I always thought that about Motueka. It is a very straight shooting hop, this one, but it's just nice. I think you just get this in that front third of your palate. It's quite simple. It just gives you this lovely, juicy, kind of limey character. Yeah, for me, Motueka has this lovely, juicy, kind of limey note to it. There's a wee bit of an almost orangey character further forward on that front third of your tongue. But yeah, the way it goes together, I think, is really, really nice, actually. Yeah, can't fault this beer at all, I have to say that. I think this one goes together really, really nicely. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, good stuff, I have to say. In terms of the the overall feel of this one, as I say, it's quite a floral and kind of smooth and creamy New England IPA, this one, but the lime, the juiciness and the smoothness of the lime you get out of this one is quite interesting. I honestly couldn't tell you before this if I've had a Motueka single hopped IPA. I know I've had an Equinox one, and the reason I mention Equinox is because that's also a very limey hop for me. But I think this is really nicely done, so big thumbs up to Omnipollo and Other Half for this beer. I think this is really nicely done. Let's round off this review with a wee look at the mouthfeel then. So, for me, the mouthfeel of this beer is I'd say that it's pushing toward the top end of mid-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth, but it actually feels kind of clean at the same time. The more I drink of this beer, the more I get a kind of wetter mouthfeel out of it, which is quite interesting. But there is quite a creaminess in there as well. The creaminess, I think, takes a little bit of time to show its head, though. But you have got a lovely little bit of, you've got quite a lot of floral aromaticity to this beer. I don't find that it's overly bitter. I think this is maybe 40-ish IBUs. I think slightly more than 30, but 40 I think is probably about the max. So yeah, nice 40 IBU character coming out of this one, which I think is very, very nice. And then, yeah, on top of that, you have, if you go around that, you've got a nice little bit of, in the malt base, you've got a little bit of graininess, a little bit of bready smoothness, one tiny little bit of sweetness, and you've got some nice juicy fruity character coming out of this one as well. So that gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, I have to say I do like how that goes together actually, this one. Yeah, it is very, very nice. Yeah, really, as I say, really solid, pardon me, New England Double IPA, this one, and I wouldn't expect any less of either of these two breweries. And I think we've covered everything we need to say about this one. It's more kind of juicy in its fruity character and kind of citrusy leaning. So yeah, I think we should leave it at that for this one. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Omnipollo as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But yeah, this was a really, really nice one. Omnipollo and Other Half coming together to make the double Motueka Chroma, an 8.2% New England Double IPA. This one really nicely done. So we need to keep an eye and see if they do any more collaborations in the future. But again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Omnipollo and from Other Half, and we will return to these guys again at some point soon. Check out my social media, check out the brewery's social media, and I'll see you guys later. Slàinte, skål, and cheers.